all these different qualities that we measure, or variables that we measure about our sample, and variables that we measure about our population, but they have different names. So when we're describing a population and its different measurements, we're talking about the parameters. And when we're talking about the measurements of a sample, we're talking about statistics. But this word statistic is not the same as statistical test. Okay, that's something else. We're just using the term differently. Don't worry that they don't confuse them, is basically all I'm saying. So what you should see on this table is that in the left column over here, I've got all the different names. So you've got mean, standard deviation, variance, standard error of the mean of the sampling distribution of the mean, and then a correlation. Now these are all statistics that we would have learned about in this course. These are the ones that have different values for populations and samples. So you'll see that the big difference between the two is that for populations, the symbols are almost always represented by Greek letters. Okay.
Oh, right.
Okay, so that's your big clue. If you see Greek letters, we're talking about a population. Okay.
Okay.
If you see the Latin Roman letters, which is the ones that we use in our languages, then that is going to refer to a sample statistic. It's not always like that, but it's almost always like that.
Okay.
All right. So that's your first big one. So you can see over here, if you're just looking at this table, that the average or the mean, which is the same thing, the mean and the average is synonymous, they're the same terms. The mean for the population is represented by this Greek letter mu. Okay. But for a sample, the average is represented by a different term, and that average is called X bar.
Okay.
Now, the reason why it's called X bar is because if you look really closely, you should see that there's an X with a little line on top of it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, it's not always going to be X bar. Okay. Sometimes it can be Y bar, or it could be Z bar, or it could be A bar. What is indicating to you that it is an average is the bar on top. So that bar specifically means the average of all X's. Okay, if it was a Y bar, it would mean the average of all Ys. If it was an A bar, it would mean the average of all A's. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.